In this video, I'm gonna be explaining why you are not doing the work and how to actually do it. This is not just procrastination, this is, in my opinion, gonna solve every single problem that you have with not doing the work. I think it will be incredibly helpful for you. Before diving into any of this, we have to understand that achieving goals is gonna be suffering, it's gonna be painful, because growth is pain. Just think about going to the gym. Having the workout is painful. Your muscles feel pain. You may or may not like the pain. I'm gonna talk about it later. But you are gonna face pain no matter what. If you want to get somewhere and you have the ambition to get to somewhere, you are inevitably gonna face pain. All you have between you and your goals is just pure pain. You have to work through the pain. You have to sit through the pain. That is happening because life will inevitably resist your efforts to grow. And we call it resistance, It's not my idea. This whole is not my idea. It's from Charlie Morgan. I should give credit to him. So, resistance comes from you. It's entirely internal. There may be external events that can limit your ability to do work, but it's gonna be obstacles which you can overcome with inner strength. But resistance is entirely internal. It's made by part of you, something that is in you. I will talk about on that later, why this resistance occurs. So, resistance can take a lot of forms. I will just name a few here. So, resistance in your life appears as something that is stopping you from doing the work. That could be impatience, not working because you expect shit to be instant, for it to be instant gratification because you are used to that. Fear, not working because you're afraid. Pain, not doing the work because it's painful, because it's gonna be painful regardless of what you do. Not working because you are uncertain about how it will play out. So uncertainty, basically, someone told you that it's too hard, cringe, etc. Opinions. I'm not telling you to not give a fuck about other people's opinions, but just to know that it's an internal thing, that if opinions are stopping you. Feeling too burned out, this is quite legit, because you can indeed feel too burned out, but 99% of the time it's just coping that, I can't do the work because I'm feeling too burned out. It's bullshit. Do the fucking work. Feeling too entitled to work, feeling like the work is below you. So that's especially prominent with little tasks, that you have the ego that you feel too good for that given task, and it's harmful. Routine, your daily routine gets some way or form fucked up, and that makes you think that you can do any work, and that's totally false. For example, I have been my most productive on 2 hours of sleep. When I actually recorded the monk mood video, I have slept like 2 hours because of the New Year's Eve bullshit that was going on. And daily routine is not a fucking excuse to not work. Not working because you genuinely hate yourself / you have imposter syndrome. And that especially occurs when you've been ruining yourself without self-improvement, with self-destruction, and you are feeling that you don't deserve to do this work, you don't deserve to give back to people, if you know what I mean, because you are a human piece of shit, and yeah, it's very real, and you should be working on that instead of work. I gave you a fucking excuse to not do the work, but also work can contribute to the world. So yeah, do the work. Actually, not working because you love yourself and avoid things that feel hard. And that is especially tricky because if you don't go through pain right now, you will go through much more pain later, and it will be way, the pain of regret will be way worse than the pain of work could ever be. Not working because you want to create the drama in your life and you don't feel content when things are going good in your life, and you want the friction, you're addicted to the drama that is happening in your life and you want to create it, and you're just a fucking human piece of shit if you do this. Not working because you are deluding yourself about the importance of it. What I mean by that is, like, making money is not even that important, giving this knowledge to you is not even that important. And the reality is that it is. It is important to make fucking money, because if you don't get the freedom, and then you can be just fucking enslaved in your home. And the main reason to make money is not to have these materialistic gains, but to have the freedom that comes with it. And it's especially important right now in this day to create something that you can make money with. Not specific to business, I talked about this. You don't have to be a business owner, but it's a great way to get freedom. So everyone should try it, but it's not for everyone, definitely, because employees are still needed. Like how the fuck you're gonna outsource something when there is nobody that could outsource it, because everyone is a fucking entrepreneur. Because the other is that working makes you vulnerable. And yes, you are feeling quite weak and stupid. I have one of the points here of being stupid. But work makes you vulnerable because you are not in your safe space. You are not in your comfort zone when you are working. And it's normal, and it should be that way, because work is supposed to be hard. This is what hard feels like. Procrastination, and another big one, as you probably know, and you probably clicked on this video because of that. We'll do it tomorrow, and don't fucking bullshit yourself. You won't. But do it right now if you are feeling like you are procrastinating. And even I will give you a tip too in the end of this video. Yeah, just double the amount of things that you have to complete, and your brain will learn not to procrastinate. But I will talk that about length in the end of the video. You're doubting yourself / the possibility of the possibleness of the task. Goofy sentence, but you can definitely doubt yourself, and I'm in doubt right now before I was starting this video. But you can also doubt the possibleness of given task. And anxiety, not working because you are feeling stressed, that is highly correlated with the comfort. You are not in your comfort zone. And yeah, you feel anxious about work, and that's why you are avoiding it, because somehow you think that avoiding work will somehow break that cycle of anxiousness. It won't, you just feel it worse. But later, that's why you kind of do it. In learning, you want to get more educated about the given subject first before you can start the work. And it's a pretty legit one, but you don't need that much of a research to start a thing. Obviously, you have to know the basics. But for example, making a YouTube video is not really complicated. You don't have to learn SEO about. If you want to do fucking YouTube videos, you just have to have a camera and you have to figure out what you want to say, and that's it all. And yeah, I myself fallen into this trap a lot of times, where I would do fucking research, or I read 3 books, for example, on a given subject before I could start, and I was able to put up the same results if I were to just start with one book. Learning definitely has its place, but it's mostly useless if you are deluding yourself with learning instead of working. Then you are entering a negative loop which is very hard to get out. out of comfort. You are comfortable in the state right now where you are, and you don't want to get out of it. And obviously, as I said, work is gonna be uncomfortable, especially when you are starting. So it's gonna be hard, but you gotta do it regardless because there is no other option. The other option is fucking dying of shame, and you don't want that, definitely. Perfection, you expect the work, the outcome to be perfect, and that makes you anxious because you, deep inside your mind, you quite know well that achieving perfect work is quite impossible, and especially impossible for you who haven't done anything, who haven't done the work necessary to even get a glimpse of what perfect is. Stop deluding yourself. You're not gonna do perfect, but also you should aim for perfect, and in the process you can become excellent. I love this fucking sentence. I just made that up. You don't do the work because you want to see what happens. That is usually not a main concern for YouTubers, for example, or studying people, students, but it's definitely a real one, for example, for investors. I'm reading this book right now, great book, The Psychology of Money, and it's about investing and basically investing. And a lot of times people are afraid to engage because they want to see what happens, and in the end they just end up not doing anything. That's a problem, obviously, because you are not doing the work that you need to do. Okay, deluding yourself with what your priority is, and that's a really big one for me personally, because I have deluded myself with my priorities, and that's why I haven't started an online business. For the majority of my self-improvement journey, I started it very recently, and I'm grateful that I started it, but I kind of feel regret of not starting earlier, because I would have had the knowledge and I would have had the tools to get to the knowledge to pass on. And I put, for example, fitness on the top, which is, a pretty good goal, to have a fit body to get shredded. But you have to be real yourself with what the priorities, and not base your priorities on what you fear the most, because what you fear the less is gonna most likely come on the top, and it's a faulty way of thinking, because you are gonna be unfulfilled by that, and you are not gonna do the fucking work again, because there is some other external priorities on top of your purpose, which you have to be working on. Okay, support, you don't have a support system, and not everybody is supportive towards you. Unfortunately, that is not a great part for me, because I can work if nobody fucking supports me, right? And you gotta do the work regardless. You don't need a fucking accountability partner. Yourself is your accountability partner. Do the fucking work. Yeah, not working because it makes you stupid, because if you start learning a skill, you realize, as you advance further, you realize that you don't know jack shit. And that's natural process. The more deeper you get into something, the more you realize that it's a very complicated topic, and you don't know it, and it's gonna make you feel uncomfortable, and you don't want uncomfortable. Your lizard brain doesn't want the uncomfortable. Your ego wants to be satisfied, not destroyed. Not working because you are too busy criticizing what other people do, obviously the thing that you want to do. Then you will be afraid to take action, because the standards that you criticize other people by is gonna be applied to yourself, and you know that you are not gonna be able to pull perfect. But also if you're criticizing other people do the work, you may as well criticize yourself for doing the work, and people doesn't want to criticize themselves. It's pretty understandable. These were the forms of resistance. Now we have to understand pain, because at the beginning I mentioned that you are gonna feel pain regardless of what you do. So pain occurs because of resistance, but it's not just resistance in itself, it's correlated with it heavily. Okay, let me explain. We have good pain and we have bad pain. Good pain is when you meet resistance with a lot of effort, and it's gonna generate the pain of doing the work. And it's gonna be the pain that's gonna evolve you into your next self, because you will undoubtedly become a new version of you by doing the work. It's painful, it's gonna be painful as fuck, but it's gonna be a necessary pain. And you can't avoid pain anyway, so why not just take the good pain, you know? That's my philosophy. You will have to go through this good pain if you want to achieve anything. And there is the pain of inaction. The bad pain is when your efforts meet your passivity and you don't do anything. Then resistance meets inaction. And resistance meets your passivity. And when that happens, you're gonna feel the pain of the shame that you haven't done it. And it's way more awful pain than the good pain could be at any time. So why people usually avoid the good pain, the work, and why they resort to bad pain, not doing the work, is because good pain is feeling pain right now and sacrificing comfort right now, and for the achievement later, for the triumph later. And yeah, that's like the definition of the delayed gratification, and I'm sure you are familiar with it. Delayed gratification is hard, it's painful, and that's why people avoid it. Bad pain, on the other hand, is indulging in comfort of not doing the work right now and then feeling way worse later. It's gonna be way more painful pain to feel later as you haven't done the work. But you're avoiding the pain right now, and it feels like instant gratification. But you are just hustling in reverse if you are doing the bad pain, you know. It's not gonna get you anywhere because you're not doing the work, plus it's gonna be way more painful, so why not just do the work and face the pain right now? Okay, so now we talked about what is resistance, now we talked about why pain occurs, so let's discuss why resistance occurs in the first place. It comes from your current self, who haven't done the work, who doesn't want to do the work, who plays 8 hours of video games a day, who haven't even heard of how to do the work, who haven't even heard of productivity, who haven't even thought about doing the work. It's really shocking because your current self doesn't want to do the work, because doing the work would be unfamiliar for him. And by doing the work, you will become a person that is unfamiliar to your current self. And you know, two selves can't really exist in one body if you're a healthy person. And so one of them has to die, and your V2 self, by doing the work, will inevitably overpower your V1 self, and in the process your V1 self is going to die. And obviously your current self, your V1 self, does not want to die. No organism does. No organism wants to die by nature. So your current self is trying to survive. It's kicking and screaming, and it's trying to survive. It's scratching your fucking eyes out. And it's resistance. It manifests as resistance. So by doing the work, you create your V2 self, your future self. And one of the best tools you have is to create that V2 self yourself before you are trying to do the work. Because then you are gonna have a framework to work around with work. That's a complicated fucking sentence. But by creating your V2 self, you take charge of where your life is going, and your V2 self is gonna be instantly more powerful because you have an idea of who you are, who you want to become. And I have a great framework for creating your V2 self, and I'm not gonna really go into details on this one. I don't know which video it was, but I will stick it up on the screen, which video of mine explains about how to create your V2 self. And when you create this V2 self, you're first gonna be enthusiastic about it, but then your motivation will drop, and you will face the inevitable tremendous resistance that your current self generates towards that person. That's when you usually will quit this V2 self process. And you shouldn't. You need to stick it out with your V2 self, and you should give careful thought to it, because I will later talk about this, but you must love your V2 self in order for it to overcome your V1 self. So V1 self will generate the resistance because your V1 self is existentially threatened. And that's why it will create the resistance. So how to become this V2 self that we created? First, you reveal the resistance. Behind every one of your excuses is some form of resistance, and you have to take the mask of the resistance. And by noticing it's usually enough to overcome it. But how do we overcome it? By working and by putting in effort to becoming your V2 self. You are gonna put work into your work, basically, because that is why you are watching my video, because you want to do the work. And when you meet the resistance with a lot of effort, you are gonna feel pain. I've said that before, but I'm gonna hammer it into you. And the more effort you bring to the table, the more work you do, The harder you try in becoming, the more pain you are gonna feel. And that pain is really important because it's killing your V1 self. And from the ashes of your current self can arise your future self. And it's a fucking great analogy. I love it. Yeah, so a reminder, if you don't face the resistance right now with effort, you're gonna feel pain regardless. So do the work. And set the goals. Setting goals is basically the same as creating your V2 self. So you should set the goals and then work on them relentlessly. And that way you will become. The more you work, the faster you become. And your enemy, not your enemy, but the kind of thing that in you that manifests the resistance, is gonna pull all the dirty tricks in his sleeve that he has. He has no morale, and gonna use every single tool that he has for you to avoid the work that you need to do. It's gonna lie to you, it's gonna make you doubt yourself, it's gonna make you anxious, it's gonna scare you, it's gonna panic you, make you feel contempt, when you worked a lot and then you achieved something. It's gonna tell you that it's okay, that you need to relax right now, that you did enough. Okay, focus on something else. Because it's afraid of dying, right? You would do the same if someone was killing you. It's pretty fucking logical. Next mindset is that sometimes you win, but sometimes you don't. You can't win 100% of the times. Don't beat yourself too much, because you have to be very critical of yourself, but don't beat yourself up too much about losses. Because it's natural. It's natural that your V1 self is gonna win sometimes, and your V2 self is gonna lose sometimes. But if you can manage for your V2 self to win a lot of times, more than 50%, obviously, because that's when you are winning truly, you will grow regardless. If your future self wins 51% of the time and your current self wins 49% of the times, you're making progress by definition, because you are winning more times than you are losing. But don't make it as an excuse to not put careful effort into it. Put a lot of effort into this, because obviously winning 90% of the times is gonna be better than 60% of the times. So in this context, more is better indeed. And this V1 self winning is usually comes in form of relapse in any kind of area that you care about. Basically, I'm not gonna really detail it right there, but for example, nofap or your daily habits, which I'm gonna explain in a different video, which I'm about to record right now. I'm really productive right now. It's natural to have peaks and valleys. Don't get stressed about it, because the low of your valley is gonna determine the heights of your peaks. View it productively. Okay, so we talked about work, but let's identify work. What is work? The work is action. It's not necessarily you making money, but it's also you working out, for example, if you haven't worked out before. It's also you reading the book that you have to read. It's also you learning in context if you haven't done them. You have to put in the work to do those things. And word priorities can come in great form in here when we are trying to do the essential work, the 20% of the actions that will bring the results. And it will lie to you about what is the most important thing, and it will wrap your priorities in a completely different order, what you actually need. So you have to think clearly about this. And you have to understand the process. The goals that you set will generate the resistance, because you don't want to become. And the resistance will show you what work you will need to do. So generally speaking, what you feel towards the most resistance will be the work that you have to do, because it will be the highest ROI task to become. Take action in spite of resistance. Don't expect your journey in becoming to become easier, because resistance, as you get to the finish line, as you are about to kill your current self psychologically, obviously, don't fucking harm yourself. But as you get closer to the goal, it will get way harder, and you will have to break to the final wall, and it will be the hardest fucking thing you ever done in your life. I'm not bullshitting you, but you also gonna be way stronger. You are gonna be way stronger, but by the journey that you went through, it will be still hard to break to that wall, but you're gonna be summoned unimaginable efforts to overcome that wall. But you don't want to see your current self in a negative light. You don't want to see it as the enemy, because without him, without your current self, there would be no opportunity to face the resistance in the first place. You would have no opportunity to grow. If your life hadn't sucked, you wouldn't have the opportunity to grow. You would have no chance to evolve. You should be grateful that your life sucks, because you can evolve from that. The worse your current self is, the better your future self will become. Don't hate the pain, because don't hate the pain itself. Don't hate that it's painful, because it's the way. It's not a tool, it's the way to become. Don't hate your current self, because there would be no future for you without it. Be grateful. Be grateful. You cannot shortcut pain. You will have to face it inevitably. It's either good pain or bad pain. I've explained that. But there is no way you are gonna get the results that you want and shortcut the pain. It's not gonna happen, because in some way you are not gonna be the person that you want, and you are not gonna achieve the results that you want. The more relaxed that you can be in the face of pain and experiencing as much pain as possible, the faster you become. And I've explained that, but I want to hammer it into you. You must seek as much pain as possible, as much good pain as possible. You must be a pain seeker for this, for life. You can't avoid pain. You can't want to avoid pain. Okay, so you can get familiar with pain, and after some time, you will naturally interpret pain as meaningful and pain as purposeful. And that is a kind of Stockholm syndrome, and after a time, you start liking the pain that effort brings with itself. For example, if you think about the gym, if you have been going to the gym for a lot of time, then you are gonna enjoy the gym, but it's gonna be painful regardless. But you are gonna enjoy it regardless of the pain. And you as a person will always resort back to something familiar. That's why, for example, stressed people will more likely to become stressed in stressful situation than someone who is not a stressful person will be less likely to stress in a stressful situation. Your brain always looks for familiarity, and if you can become familiar with pain, then you are gonna enjoy the process. And that's why I think to follow your passion is kind of a bullshit advice, because you can learn to enjoy the task. It's not a bullshit advice, but a lot of people use it as an excuse to not do the work. And it's also, I think, doubt. Categorizes as doubt, in my opinion. Yes, you must be pain-seeking in every area of your life, because pain avoidance, the avoidance of pain, it's pretty straightforward. Why am I explaining that? Because in other areas, because if you have pain avoidance in one area, then it's gonna manifest itself in other areas. For example, if you are half-assed on your diet, it will show in your work, it will show in your business, it will show in your studies. If you are lazy with the workouts, if you are not putting enough effort, then that laziness, that pain avoidance is gonna manifest itself in your relationships. You must be pain-seeking in every area of your life. You can brainwash yourself into liking pain. And if you don't have the pain, you're either working on something that is not a priority, which resistance led you to, or you're half-assing it, and you shouldn't, because that way you're either not gonna become, because you are gonna quit, or you are gonna become way slower than the resistance tax against you. So you must take action, and you must take it seriously. That is the point that I'm making. And the great quote that I got here from Alex Hormozy, by the way, this one in the middle, is: were you expecting achieving your goals that it will be easy? When you set them, were you expecting it to be easy? Most likely no, you expected it to be effortful, to be painful. This is what hard feels like. Powerful quote. Generally speaking, what holds you back the most is gonna come with the most resistance, and that's what you should be working on. Because your current self knows you pretty well, because it's yourself, and it's gonna generate the most resistance towards the toughest thing that can kill it. So you should be working on that. You should be working on the hardest shit that you can. And now let's talk about that you have to love your goal and who you are becoming. Because, as Nietzsche said, he who has a strong why can endure any house. And if you don't love yourself, you are not gonna have a strong why. And that's gonna be problematic, because once you're faced with the how of hard hows, obstacles in your life, you're not gonna be able to tolerate it, and you're not gonna be able to stick with it. And for example, if you don't feel the connection to be an entrepreneur, you shouldn't force that. Of course, you can learn to love it, but you should have a strong sense of purpose about what you're doing, because that way you're gonna endure anything that comes in your way to just focus on that thing. Don't create your version to self as shallow. It should be deep, it should be connected with yourself. And a lot of times, what happens is that you put external expectations on yourself, not just by your family, but for example, influencers. When Andrew Tate got really popular, I myself wanted to start I don't even know what fucking business. I think it was copywriting, but it was so much friction in my life because of that, because of resistance also, because I could have learned it. But I'm so grateful that I didn't, because that way I can make these YouTube videos. And you must truly love the person you want to become. And the next point is why you must not do it for yourself. Because most likely you are feeling stressed, you're feeling distressed about yourself. I know it because you are watching a video like this, and it's perfectly normal if you are not satisfied with yourself. Because nobody is, let's be real, nobody is fulfilled with himself as of right now. Everybody knows that he could grow in some way. But people either deluding themselves into thinking that they are where they want to be, or settle for mediocrity. Neither is good. Neither is gonna be beneficial for you. Both of them will stunt your growth and will inevitably ruin your life. Have neither of those. There is always room for improvement. Don't get complacent. Even though you made the progress, you should still grow. You should see yourself as someone who is behind it. It's a little bit toxic. It's a little bit negative to think these thoughts, but it's gonna be tremendously beneficial. So that's why you must work for your future self, not your current. Because your current self expects mediocrity. Your current self is mediocre, most likely. Definitely mediocre compared to your future self, even if you are excellent by the standards of the 99% of the population. You have to become your V2 self, and that's why you gotta work for it. Because if you were to work for your current self, you would not become that, because you wouldn't feel the need to become that. You want to reach perfect. You want to become perfectly your V2 self. Most likely you wouldn't. You can't be perfect. You will have faults, you will have shortcomings in the process, but you should aim for perfect. And by aiming for perfect and coming up a little bit short of it, not even just a little bit, but coming up 50% short of it, you are gonna be way more developed than your current self could be. And that way you become excellent. That's what I've been preaching for a lot of time. This again does not mean that you should hate your current self. You should love it because it gives you the opportunity to grow. But don't settle for it. That's really important. So the next one is be process oriented instead of result oriented. Because the reality is, the results are not 100% under your control, but the effort is, but the process is. That is really fucking important, because if you are worrying about something that is not 100% under your control, you're gonna be dissatisfied anyways. So by concentrating on by concentrating on the effort instead of the results, by concentrating on giving your best, giving the effort that is needed, you're gonna still achieve what you want, what you can, because you are giving your best, but it's not gonna fuck up your mental health at the same time. So instead of having this mindset of being the person who can do the work, have the mindset of becoming the person who can do the work. And also, I have a great quote from Andrew Tate here, which I've been shitting on for most of the video, is that having things isn't fun, getting things is fun. And that is really important, because process is always gonna triumph over results. At least the happy feeling that you get. Happy, joyful, that's a good word. So let's get some practical shit down the table of how to actually do the work. And this is the best achieved by catching the resistance loop itself, when you are telling yourself these excuses that I showed you on that Miro board. If you catch one of those, you are gonna do it. It doesn't matter if you finished work for today. Because usually what I find myself is I record these videos in the morning. It's 7, I think. It's 8 actually. What the fuck? It's 8 in the morning. You know, it's a little bit later. But I will be finished by 12 because I do work in the morning. And a lot of times I catch myself doubting myself. I catch myself resistance, looping, making excuses. And what you do then is 2 options to become better. One is do that work right now. For example, if I doubting myself at 6 p.m. in the evening, I will just go fucking outside and record a shorts video, right? I will take action. And the other thing is that when you don't want to do the work and your mind makes excuses about making a video, then you make 2. You stacking the action. And yeah, I have a separate whole slide for this, but I guess I explained it now. So if you are doubting yourself, then do the work right now. If you are feeling resistance, do the work right now, or do double the work. If your mind resists about running a 10k, then you should make it to 15k. Obviously, if you can do the 10k, then don't fucking break your legs doing that, because it's gonna be counterproductive. We don't want to break you, but we want a better you. And by doing this, your body will eventually stop rebelling against your mind. And that's why, by the way, I have a fucking slide for this also. Learn to have command over your body, because your body will want to do the negative stuff because it's gonna be on autopilot, and your mind will have to resist it, and it will have to take command of your body and do the work that is necessary and avoid the shit that you don't need to. And I want to view your mind as the general and your body as the soldier who completes the task, and the general gives the orders, but also in the same time have downtime, scheduling, relax. I will talk about scheduling in the next video that I'm gonna fucking release. So scheduling, relax, because if the general pushes too hard, if the general pushes the soldiers too hard and doesn't give them relaxing time, then the soldiers are gonna fucking shoot the general, because they are gonna be on the brink of death. We don't want that. And the other part is that you want to have a bird's view and a third person view, basically, of yourself when you are going through the pain of resistance, and going to pain. Because by detaching you from yourself, you are gonna have a better time tolerating the stress. And I'm the not most credible person to teach you about that. But when you are going through a stressful situation, for example, running down the road, then imagine yourself in the third person's view of you running, and that's gonna be, generally speaking, you're gonna tolerate the pain better, the pain of running. And when a argument is about to start in your relationship, then take a bird's view and observe objectively what is happening right now. And it's gonna be helpful for you to detach from the situation and not get really emotional about it. I hope you like this video. I hope you get a lot from it, because I recorded this in a fucking hour, I think, but I put a lot more thought in it. The ideas are from Charlie Morgan. I'm not gonna take credit for it. Check him out. hopefully see you later. Mwah.